Hey guys, my name is Bob Soucy. I'm one of the paramedics with Durham County. I'm just here to run through a little presentation and talk about situational awareness. To start off, I'm going to tell you a little story. Here I was in Bahama at a house much like this. About 11 o'clock at night, we get dispatched to an unknown medical problem at a residence. We arrive on scene. It was check the well-being of a subject. The information that we received from dispatch is that the patient's son received a phone call from the residents of the house. The son lives up in Boston, and he is, all of a sudden, just before 11 o'clock at night, he gets a phone call from his dad, which is very much out of character for the father. After a moment or so on the cell phone, and this is going back several years, and you remember what cell phone service was like in Bahama. So he lost touch with his father, tries calling him back, got no answer. Called multiple times, got the phone number for Durham Communications, who dispatched us. It was out in Trayburn, so the city police department was responding. They're pretty far, coming from District 2 in the north end of Durham. So we're way far out in the county at this point. Arrived on scene, knocking on the door, get no response, knock on the door some more, no response. There's no lights on in the house. So we're wandering around trying to figure out what the heck is going on. We got flashlights, we're looking in, and the only thing we can see is there's a television that's on in one of the rooms in the first floor. So we wander around, checking all the windows, can't see anything. Get back to the front door, my partner's banging on the door some more. Police officer arrives at that point. So I walk up, kind of give him a brief as far as what we've done, what we've got going on. I get the bright idea, well, let me call the complainant back. So I got his phone number, called up the son. I'm like, hey, what's going on? He's like, well, I was talking to my dad, blah, blah, blah. Runs through this whole story as the officer and I are walking up to the door. Meanwhile, the door opens up about so much, and this Glock comes pointing out at us. I remember it quite well. The whole of the gun, the barrel of the gun looked like it was about that big. So he pointed his gun at us. What the hell are you doing in my house? Whoa. So, had no idea, didn't know what to do. It got kind of interesting. But, talk is about situational awareness and how to avoid such things. Now, a few interesting statistics. In 2005, the National Association of EMTs did a study, and 52% of the respondents reported that they had violent encounters with their patients. Patients assaulted them in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Also, a large EMS system in California, they had violence encountered in 8.5% of all their patient contacts. So almost 9% of all of their calls, there's a violent encounter involving the EMS crew. 4.5% of those was the patient actually doing something to the crews. 21% of those calls involve verbal. They get in their face, they're yelling at them, but they never actually touch them. 79% of it actually involves some sort of assault, physical assault on the EMS crew. So it can be a pretty big thing. The trick is to pick up on all the clues that are around us to identify problems before they become a problem. Situational awareness. It's really the name of the game as far as surviving these encounters. As far as situational awareness, when you arrive on scene, location, what is the place we're going to? Is it an active crime scene? Is it previous crime scene? Places that we've been before that we know that there have been violent crimes, there's been all kinds of issues there. We all know the locations in our district that we respond to that's got a higher incidence of violence than others. Also, type of occupancies, can be hardware stores, can be a mess for us, swimming pools, public gatherings, all kinds of things. All right, other environmental indicators. You arrive on scene and you see lots and lots of guns. There's different sounds coming from the scene. Everyone knows that clack, clack. Anyone in the free world knows what a shotgun sounds like when it's racking around. If you hear that, you probably have an issue. Firecrackers going off. If the crowd is suddenly getting louder and more intense. As you're arriving on scene, you hear dogs barking in the background, or you hear some explosions, or some other kind of noise. Just things you can hear that's not quite right. Other environmental indicators. As I mentioned, the crowd. Is the crowd getting bigger? Is a big crowd when you arrive on scene and suddenly everyone's disappearing? That could also be an indicator that there's a problem. Smells. Things like burning styrofoam can be a meth lab. And you see a nice picture of a meth lab here. When you arrive on scene, chemicals, different things like that. Now, once we make it inside the residence or inside to the patient, what are some indicators that the situation could be getting worse? So, anything we've already observed. More noises, strange things, problems coming up, don't know what. Weapons suddenly appear, crowds getting more agitated. Body language, a patient suddenly gets in your face or starts looking like this young lady that disappeared from my picture. Little happy child, smiling, laughing, everything's cool. Your body language, what's going on with your body language? How are you looking? All right, let's go back to Bahama. So here we are, gun gets pulled on us. Cop tells guy, drop your gun. Guy says, no. He says, I'm Durham Police. Drop your weapon before I use mine. As that's going on, I'm on the phone with the son, and I said, sir, what's your dad's name? And he tells me. I said, Joe, your son in Boston's on the phone, wants to talk to you. Oh, suddenly the guy kind of gives me that look. He recognizes something's going on, drops his weapon. Everything's cool. So, situational awareness. Trick is to listen to your gut. If you see something, if you're not sure what's going on, if it doesn't look or feel right, make sure that you back out, call for some help. Thank you very much.